Okay, in this video we're checking out the Eachine VR-D3. This is a budget level FPV goggle, and I would say this is probably going to be a good one for someone that is starting out in FPV that doesn't want to spend $500 on a set of Fatsharks goggles and a diversity receiver. This has some pretty good features. Obviously this is not perfect, and I think that comparing these set of goggles here, which I purchased for $49, to something that costs 10 times as much is really not a fair comparison. So I'm not really going to do any sort of, this goggle versus a Fatsharks goggle comparison, because obviously if you spend $500, you're going to get a better product. If you don't, then there's something really wrong, and that's just the way it is. You get what you pay for. But this is a more than adequate goggle, in my opinion, for a first timer, assuming that the focus issues are okay and the fitment issues are okay. Now, for me, I didn't have any issues with focus or fitment. Now, this is essentially, this goggle here is essentially an upgrade to the VR-006 goggles I did a few videos on a while back, like a year ago. But this actually has some additional features. It has a small DVR here. You can put a micro SD card here and record your flights, 640 by 480 video. It does have focus adjustment here. Basically this section here will slide in and out, so you can adjust your focus. For me, I could focus on the screen whether this is all the way in or all the way out. It didn't matter to me. I generally don't have too much of a problem with box goggles. I do wear glasses, but I don't wear glasses when I put my box goggles on. So I'm not sure. Obviously, everyone's eyes are a little bit different. I'm just gonna have to. All I can do is portray my experience with these, and obviously, your mileage will vary. Everyone's eyes and face are different, which is kind of why FPV goggle reviews are, in a lot of ways, kind of pointless, because you're going to get an opinion from someone based on their experience, which might not match up with yours. So, but anyway, I'm just going to tell you how I viewed this goggle and how I experienced it. Now, I wear glasses, and obviously with this opening here, you're not going to be able to put in glasses. It's not wide enough. Obviously, you could do some modifications by cutting a bunch of plastic out. That's potentially a possibility, but well beyond the scope of this video. But this does allow you to move because it's called a lens there, a Fresnel lens, that lets you focus on the screen, moves it in and out for focus adjustment. Now, in terms of face fitment, for me, the curve on this is a little bit more shallow than on my Fatsharks goggles. So you can see here, this curve is a little less shallow, or yeah, I guess it's more shallow than the Fatsharks goggles I wear normally. So actually, I thought this fit my face better than my Fatsharks goggles. Very little light leakage. There's two thicknesses of foam here. I'm using the thicker foam. There's a thinner foam available as well. It just sticks on via some Velcro. The only thing that I didn't like is, based on where this sat on my face, I wish that this was a little bit lower on the cheek area. Just felt like with the weight of the battery in the front here, it was putting some pressure on my cheekbones, and my cheekbones aren't super high. So if this were a little bit lower, I think that'd be a little more accommodating. Didn't have any issues with my nose touching here. Obviously your face might be different, so I think in some cases you might want a little bit more of a cutout here for your nose. So you might have an issue depending on how big your nose is. But for me, I think I would have liked it to hang down a little bit lower for more cheek support. Obviously with the headband, with that third piece here holding up the top, didn't really notice it that badly. But yeah, I think that if I were to be flying with this for an extended period of time, I think I might have some issues. But for most of the flights I did, I didn't really notice it that bad. And in terms of light leakage, very little light leakage, because they fit my face very well. Just a little bit through the nose area. The screen is, I think, adequately bright. You can adjust the brightness through the menus here. And there's 4 buttons here for the menu. I'll just go ahead and turn this on. Just hold this button here on the right. That's the power button. You have to hold it for about 4 or 5 seconds, and then it'll turn on. And yeah, I'm going to plug in something so we're not looking at static. Okay, so here's the what the screen looks like, and over in the upper right corner you see an A there that shows you which receiver is being used. That's the A receiver. There's actually 2 receivers in this, and you can see just switch over to the B receiver. And the white bar there is your signal strength. As the signal strength decreases, that white bar will go to the left, and you'll see less of a white bar. That is your signal strength. The voltage here, the 3.7 on the lower left, is the voltage of the goggle, and then the frequency on the right there, on the lower right, that 5860 gigahertz, that is the frequency that the receiver is tuned into. And it's actually covering up my OSD on this particular little tiny whip here. So if you have your OSD on the bottom there, you might have to move it around. Also, I believe that the frequency can be turned off if you go into the menu. So the button you want to press here is this one here, this second one over from the left. This is the down button and the up button. And so that changes, if you change that, that'll change your frequency. So if you hit that, it'll change your frequency. So you can see it says 5865, 5866, 5880. Actually, that's the up button, so that's increasing. It changes your channel. I'm going to go back to where I was. And then if you press that menu button, it'll bring up the menu. So there's backlight, brightness, contrast, saturation, inputs. So you can do either the AV, which is the receivers, or you can turn it to the DVR. So let me switch that over to the DVR. Switch that over here. So this is the DVR menu, and so here you can play back previous files by going into this button here. And I think you have to long press the button. Now if you just short press the button, it'll start playing. No, actually it starts recording, sorry. And then I'll stop the recording. So if you long press the button, that should go into the DVR menu. And hold it for about 5 seconds. And there is the DVR menu. And then if you short press the button, it'll start playing a file. That was the last file. So if you long press the button again, okay, it turns off the DVR menu. So this using the DVR is a little bit tricky. Go back into the DVR menu. It looks like if you short press the button, it'll stop and start playing the last file. I'm not sure how to get to the next file. Okay, if you hold and press the button for 3 seconds, it will go to the next file. And then you can start playing this. This is a previous recording. And short press the button will stop it. Short press the button will start it. And then press and hold for 3 seconds. Let go. It goes to the next file. And it'll start playing. Press and hold for 3 seconds. Goes to the next file. Yeah, so that's how you would navigate around, and then press and hold for 5 seconds will exit out of the DVR menu. And overall, I thought the screen was okay. It's a higher resolution than what's on the VR06 goggles. I think it's the same size. It's a 3-inch screen, but it's more of a 4:3 aspect ratio, I believe, and I think the VR06 was a 500 by 300 resolution. This is supposedly 900 by 600, so a little bit more resolution, so less pixels that you can see in the image. I thought the image was bright enough. I mean, obviously you can adjust the brightness there. There's actually 2 settings. There's backlight and brightness, so I think that if you wanted to actually increase the brightness of the screen, use the backlight setting. I think brightness actually boosts up the brightness of the image coming through on the goggles from the receiver. So I think those two things do a little bit different thing. I thought the brightness was okay. The thing that was kind of unusual is if you're looking at things that are like kind of reddish colored, that you would see sort of a red cast in the rest of the screen. It's very subtle. It didn't really bother me too much. It's only when you're around things that are red. Obviously, different environments, the screen might look a little bit differently. So, obviously, it's going to be subjective as to how you interpret things on the screen. That was the thing that bothered me. I think that's for some other people I saw some reviews. I think they didn't like things like the saturation or the contrast. Not sure if that was just an individual thing or not, but thought I would note that some people did have some other issues with the screen. I personally thought it was totally fine, totally flyable, not a problem. I could focus on the screen. I could see details. I didn't have any trouble flying this particular goggle in most of the places I would normally fly at. Okay, so now in terms of the question of this one versus, say, the very popular EV800D, that one, of course, you know, you could take the front off, and it's a much longer goggle, so it puts more pressure on your face because the weight is more extended out from your face. I actually don't like wearing those goggles on my head because the weight, again, I think they left the cheek support lacking on that one as well, and it put a lot of pressure on my cheeks, even more so than this one because the EV800Ds were heavier than this one. I think that all EV800Ds are maybe like $20 or $30 more regular prices, so obviously prices will fluctuate. The EV800D screen was a little bit better. It's a bigger screen. It's like a 5-inch screen, I believe. Resolution's a little bit pretty similar. Yeah, that one was a very good screen. The receivers, that was also a dual diversity receiver on the EV800Ds, I think is pretty good. Now, I haven't done any formal testing against this versus the EV800Ds. I think I might do something like that. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see a side-by-side of how these receivers compare to the EV800Ds. I think the reception on this is totally fine. Obviously, if you're doing long range, or if you need like if you're flying some places that have a lot of multi-path interference, these goggles might not be the best for you. I think there's probably going to be a lot of Fatshark receivers that will have better reception than these receivers. And of course, those receivers cost more than this whole goggle, so can't really do a fair comparison that way. But in terms of being able to fly around objects, trees, parks, places I normally fly, I didn't have any issues with reception. I think that if you're to the point where you need those kinds of features, then you've probably advanced beyond the capabilities of this goggle anyway, and you're going to probably want to look into investing into one of the more pricier goggles out there, like Fatshark with Fatshark diversity module. That's going to probably cost you anywhere between $300 to $500. So yeah, you're looking at this goggle if you want to get into the hobby, get into FPV, have a decent set of goggles that you can get going, get flying, and as your skills develop, maybe you'll advance onto some more expensive goggles later. This will definitely get you by, no problem. In my opinion, this will definitely meet your needs. I think that you shouldn't have any problems with flying with this one. So if you're thinking about getting into FPV and don't want to spend a lot of money, this is definitely one that you can check out, and I feel confident that you'll at least find it usable for a good while you're improving your skills. Anyway, so the bottom line is I recommend this goggle. Obviously in this price class, $50, $60, I don't think there's really much out there that can compare to this in terms of features and usability. If you guys agree, disagree, let me know in the comments below. If you think that there's something better out there, let me know in the comments below. Don't just say that, oh, this one sucks and everything else is better. Don't say anything like really general like that. Be specific down in the comments. Let me know, so let the other people know if you think there is something better, what that is, and be specific as to why, to help other people. So if they're looking to make a decision on what kind of goggle they want to get, help other people out by being specific in your comments. That'll be more helpful to other people that are going to be reading that in the future. So anyway, that's my recommendation on this goggle. I think it's a good value for the money and definitely usable for a first timer. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.